Hey everyone, I'm proud to tell you about one of our biggest sponsors, a clothing company called Emery Lane. Emery Lane has a large variety of products for women and children, and they're quickly increasing their offerings for men as well. The thing that I personally love about Emery Lane is they are family owned and operated by a law enforcement officer's wife, and all their products are designed in Nashville, Tennessee. Emery Lane has one of the largest selections of exclusively designed first responder apparel on the market today. You got to go check them out on Instagram or Facebook, Emery Lane Co., and use promo code STICKS for 20% off your next order. That's promo code STICKS, STICKS, for 20% off your next order at emerylaneco.com, EMORYLANECO.com.
Yeah, nice business ran by a lady named Rachel.
Yes, I got a couple shirts in the mail from them myself.
But you left them at home?
Nope. I tried it on here a few minutes ago and unfortunately got the wrong size. A little too small.
Well, you have been bulking up.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do in your free time once you retire.
Absolutely.
But they did also actually send me a handwritten note, which was pretty awesome. You don't see that type of stuff these days from companies.
Not at all.
You know, the best person to look out for you is you.
Yeah.
And you can start with a free download of the Crime in Place app to your iPhone. Crime in Place is the only app using up-to-date FBI data to tell you the rate of crime, where you are now, and where you might plan to be tomorrow. Crime in Place. Just go to the Crime in Place app. It's that easy, and it's free to download. Stay safe, stay aware with Crime in Place. But hey, Howard.
Yeah, Sean.
I've got kind of like a second city.
Okay. Like a home away from home?
It literally turned into a home away from home. That's going to be New York City. Spent a lot of time there over the last few years doing live PD and PD cam. Developed a lot of really, really good friendships. You know, we were just out there a week ago and got to have dinner with Dan Abrams and John Zito, producer from the show. Ran into some other friends we had out there. So that city, as weird as it sounds, literally became a second home.
Well, you spent like a couple of years there, man.
Man, you know, my hotel points at the end of the year, you get a total. It tells you your total nights. In 2019, 162 days, if I remember correct, at the same hotel.
Same hotel.
Same hotel. I had a lot of damn hotel points. But our guest we have here today, he too is from New York City.
Hey, I like New York.
Actually, a cop from New York City.
There's a lot of cops in New York.
There are a lot of cops. I think at one time I saw, you know, somewhere like up around like 60,000. Some absurd number, you know, something like a total when you're taking in all the different agencies in the area. But the gentleman we have today, he was actually, he's a retired cop now, was there actually during 9/11, spent over 20 years on the job, was a detective. Fugitive warrants, as we call them here in Tulsa, kind of got to chase the guys that were wanted and even got to, you know, travel around the country picking up guys that had been picked up that were wanted out of New York City.
Well, that's some interesting stuff. I mean, hopefully he wants to share a little bit about
I
his
hope so
experience
as
with
well.
9/11. That's a tough stain on the soul of America for sure.
Absolutely. But our guest today is Ron Licardi. Ron, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Sean, Howard, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be a part of your show.
I appreciate it, man. I know we've obviously got the podcast listeners driving in their cars, sitting in the office, and they don't get to see you. But Ron here, for those that are not watching this on YouTube, that are seeing it at home, he actually runs a YouTube channel. We'll chat about that a little bit. And he has got his own little mini studio set up there. And I love it, man. He's got the flag, the hat, the whole shebang, man.
The blue neon. I like that. That's really sets the mood. Hey, but Ron, you got there's an important part of our podcast that makes us a little more chatty. It's the cocktail part. So you got to choose the cocktail tonight, and please tell me it doesn't involve anything from the world of Crown Royal.
This, my friends, is Titos handcrafted, hand-rolled vodka, as they say, from Houston.
That's much better.
Yeah, one of the oldest distilleries in America. So I've got my New York City Police Department commemorative when I retired glass. So I made my Titos and a little bit of cranberry and a splash of seltzer. So I'm ready to have one with you guys.
You've done this before, I take it. You've made this cocktail before.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Attaboy.
There we go. Well, we did not have any cranberry. They had some cran apple, but we didn't get any of that. But we put some tonic in ours, or not tonic. We put
Hey,
some
Howard,
we put some soda in there.
Howard, cranberry is good for the digestive tract.
Hey, in the urinary tract, we know what's going on. Cheers.
Cheers to you, and thanks again for being on.
Oh,
You know,
yep, that's not bad.
When I saw that you were doing these podcasts and YouTubes, I immediately reached out. But I had a good friend, and I got to give her credit, Lisa Lockwood.
Yeah, we had her on.
Yeah. She had told me she did your show. She had already came on and made her appearance with you guys. I had booked her for mine through another friend, and you know how it goes in the cop business. Everybody knows each other, right?
Sure.
So she was already booked, and she said, "Oh, you know, before you let me go, you got to go check out this guy, Sean." I said, "Sticks? I'm on it." Every Friday and Saturday night, I used to do little watch parties with my Periscope when Twitter had their live streaming app.
Oh yeah.
That was the only app you can get away without getting a copyright hit. So I
Right.
would play the thing, and I'd be look at this guy. He's got tattoos. He's fucking handsome. All the ladies.
You were looking in the mirror, basically.
No, I was like, nobody's going to watch me. They want to watch.
Well, I mean, I'm on here, so I kind of make him even
Howard,
look better,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Me and you, but just might as well just crawl under the table.
Oh, come on now.
Absolutely. Hey, but let me ask you this. So I think that the only way that you can become a NYPD police officer is that you have to be a legacy, right? It's kind of like a fraternity. Either your father, or your mother, or your great uncle, someone had to be a cop before you could actually be a cop. They won't let you in, right? Is that true?
No, Sean, it's legends, but it's not true. You got to take the test. You got to pass the test. I'm sorry to break the bubble.
Okay.
But no, it's just a basic test that you take. You pass it. You get on a list. You get hired. So that's how it goes. There's nobody in my family other than me and my brother. He's a retired lieutenant. Got the same rank as you, Sean, and he did his 25-ish years. So I think that was right around what you did, right?
Yeah, just under 25, actually. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Man, and so when did you get on? When did you start there with the NYPD?
I started in '91. I was a class of 2,300 recruit. Okay.
I'm sorry. Run that number by me again. You cut out. Almost sounded like you said 2,300.
Hold on. Yes, that was 2,300. Yes.
Holy shit! You know how many cops? Well, here in Tulsa, we have about 800 total. My academy class was 40, and that was a big class by Tulsa standards.
Yeah, 2,300.
Yeah. So
that's a lot of people to
give you
feed.
guys an idea, just to give you an idea, we had several blocks of academy. In the gym, it was like the A block, the B, the C, the D. I think it was A, B, C, and D. And they had to break us into companies, and it was ridiculous. The showers, going into the locker room, it was like you were wall to wall. It was a sausage fest in there, So but the training,
we're doing it again.
Training academy, we were just sardined in the police academy, and now they have a brand new state of the art police academy. But when we went through, it was the old one from back in the day. So.
You said sardine. I would think that was more like Vienna sausages.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're kind of packed in cans too.
I wanted to lighten the load here.
I got you. All right, good enough.
So coming on in '91, I mean that's back when, New York City was. It was tough.
You didn't hang out in Times
Square.
You
guys had a lot of damn violent crime there.
I got to tell you, LT, you know your stats. So 2,200 homicides in 1991
Jesus.
in New York, 5 boroughs. 8 million population, obviously, in the 5 boroughs, a combination of 8 million people, 2,200 murders. My precinct that I went to, I got assigned to the public housing. I was a housing cop. So it was housing, transit, and NYPD. In my precinct alone, there was 350 murders that year, my rookie year.
And so when you're saying housing, I mean, we're talking like projects. I mean, we're government assisted housing, a lot of problems.
They call them housing developments now.
That's correct.
But they were the PPAs.
Well, like I said, there's also some departments back on the West Coast. I was talking with a cop a couple months ago, and they can't refer to felons, convicts as ex-cons. They have to call them people impacted by the criminal justice system. That's the term. So, man, wow, 2,300. I mean. For your crime scene guys, your homicide detectives, I mean, you're almost just like a shell casing collector, as opposed to being able to work a case.
Well, the great thing about the NYPD is because of the membership, it's 40,000 strong. So there's 40,000 police officers. We have a crime scene unit. We have an evidence collection team. So it's unlike, what you described in some of your previous videos. I heard you talking with Mike, the cop,
Right.
picking up evidence that didn't happen by the responding officers or
Right.
supervisor. Sergeants and police officers would secure the crime scene. They would make sure nobody trampled into the crime scene, evidence collection, crime scene unit, and then the homicide detectives come. So it was collectively 3 units and then the medical examiner's office. So everything was a streamlined event. And it was, I sometimes would handle 3 homicides in one tour.
Really?
3.
Yeah. That's a lot different than around here.
Well, I mean, as far as the numbers, yes, but that's how we're set up in Tulsa as well. Uniform officers, they go to a shooting, they show up, they got a dead body there. They're just going to secure it. They're going to call crime scene guys out who will document, collect evidence. Homicide works the case. The officers might try to help doing a canvas, knock on doors. Hey, did you see anything? Were you home? Can I get your information? That type of deal.
Yep. So yeah, when you have a large department, then it makes things it's a little bit easier to handle it. So that's how that went over there. But yes, difficult times, a difficult crime laden era of New York, crack epidemic, prostitutes, the whole thing. I mean, it is no different in inner cities that it is, across America. So
yeah, speaking of prostitutes, like I said, Howard and I were just out there in the city, a week or so ago.
Nobody wanted us.
Yeah,
I mean, they wanted him, but he was charging too much, so nobody bit.
But in a big hit in Times Square. Did you guys hit the square? Or what
hell no. I've been there enough. I told you. I know you don't go to Times Square. Locals don't go to Times Square. You stay the hell out of that area. It's just, I mean, I know that the crime that's been talked about on the news, but the amount of people there and how dirty it is. You want anything to do with that area?
No, not at all.
You avoid it. No, but I saw in the New York Post, I think, that there was an article about prostitution, kind of the old school style, is making a comeback in some of theirs. I think it was shown over in Brooklyn, girls out there in the heels and the lingerie walking the streets at night because of some of the changes as far as policy or prosecution going on there in the city.
So, yeah, we do have some kind of weak-kneed politicians running the city. I don't have to mention any names,
Sure.
What I'm referring to. So it's a different day and age in policing. We have diaphragm laws, we have all kinds of things. Thank God that was rescinded and taken back. But there was a time in the recent past that New York City police officers couldn't even put their hands on somebody around their waist, around their chest, to take somebody down. So you basically had to grab them by the arm or kick their legs out. And if you grabbed them around the chest or at the diaphragm, you'd be locked up. So, kind of a crazy time. I think things will eventually level off because I'm a positive person. I support the men and women in policing across the America, and I continue to do that through my YouTube channel as well. So,
well, you got out of, how long were you actually working public housing?
So I did about 7 years in patrol in housing. So I worked in all the different, plainclothes, anti-crime, narcotics, and I did all the stuff within the precinct. And then I went to a parole task force with the New York State Parole. So our job was to interview parolees that were released, felons, really bad, the worst of the worst. And we would get them on parole violations with the parole officers, and we would turn them for search warrants to get guns and drugs off the street. And it was a successcul unit. So I did that for 3 years, and then I went into the fugitive enforcement.
Hey, when you were working like public housing, I've heard Sean talk about this a lot. What you're doing out there is you're actually trying to prevent crime. You're not just responding to crime. Like he says, we're the police. We go out there and do that. So part of that's like building a rapport with the community, and people would talk to you. So did you have any instances where you kind of got close with people out there and they were like, hey, you got to take care of this for us. This is a problem.
Oh yeah. Howard, it's a great question that you brought up, because we had what we call PCOs, project community officers. And I was one of those. So what we would do is like community policing, and anybody that's in the policing business knows about community policing. It's it's a bond that you make with the community. You get to talk to the people. We had tenant watch folks that would sit in the lobby and they would write down people coming in and out of the building. they were just limited, but we we had these community meetings, we got together, and we would flood these, high crime areas where they were dealing drugs, and just put a bunch of cops there, and presence would make it go away. But it didn't stop the problem. It just moved it to a different location. So
Sure, relocation.
yeah. But we had it pretty much we did a really good job with it in the 90s. We, under Mayor Giuliani, we took care of driving crime down. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't see that. They think cops just, hey, they call 911, the cops show up, here's what they do. They don't see the day-to-day that a police officer does. They don't see the relationships a police officer makes. They don't see the fact that the community actually sees that they're a benefit. And I think that that's something that gets kind of missed when people are talking about. That's the human aspect of being a police officer. You're not out there because you're making a ton of money. I'm sure not in 1991, as a New York police officer, you weren't rolling in dough.
$24,999, 25 grand in my first.
You're not doing that for the money. You're doing that to help people. And that's a lot of things that I think people miss about police officers. They're in this because, of course, there's a few that are just in it because they want a little bit of power, but most of them are out there because they want to help people. It's not unlike nursing. No one gets into nursing because you're in there for the money. We're there because we like helping folks. So that's real admirable that you did that for 7 years and worked as that type of officer.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Howard. And you know what? In the nursing field of what you do, I appreciate the nurses, because when us as police officers get injured, we rely on you guys to give us great care. And that's what we got across the board. It didn't matter what borough I was in, whether it was Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, or anywhere for that matter. If one of us was down and one of us got hurt, we would be taken care of at any of the hospitals, and we'd be given priority, because it was that bond that we had between the nurses, the doctors, and everybody in the hospital, in the healthcare, how the ambulance workers, we had a great understanding with them and friendship with them, where we would back them up. They would know that if one of us got hurt, they'd be coming running. So it was great. It was a great
Absolutely. Hey guys, Sean Sticks Larkin here, speaking for the National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund. Experience the nation's premier law enforcement museum in Washington, D.C., reopening August 27th. Immerse yourself in interactive exhibits and simulators that showcase what it's like to be in law enforcement. See the thought-provoking new exhibit, Post 9/11, The Evolution of American Law Enforcement, featuring artifacts, iconic images, and heroic stories of our fallen. Don't miss this transformational experience. Visit nleomf.org for tickets today. Hey guys, Sean Sticks Larkin here, and I'm excited to share with you, we are partnering up with a new sponsor here on the Coptales and Cocktails podcast. That new sponsor, you ask? It's BetterHelp.com. As a police officer for nearly 25 years, I saw firsthand the emotional and mental toll that life can take on people at various times. I'll admit it. Even myself, I've had to reach out to a professional during my career, and it turned out to be a great move on my part. BetterHelp.com is a totally private and safe place where you will be matched up with a licensed professional therapist that best fits your needs. All your sessions are securely done online, and get a load of this, you can actually even send your counselor a message at any time. It doesn't matter if you're struggling with depression, stress, anxiety, family problems, relationships, there's some sort of trauma in your life, and so on. They have professional counselors there to help you work through it. BetterHelp.com is available to anyone worldwide, and it's actually so big here in the U.S. that they are hiring more counselors in all 50 states. BetterHelp.com is convenient, it's affordable, they actually even have financial aid available, and of course, it's 100% confidential. I want you to start living a healthier and happier life, so visit our sponsor, BetterHelp.com/Coptales, and you will get 10% off your first month of counseling. Join over 1 million people who have taken advantage, taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Coptales. Well, man, being that you started in 91, you did a 20-year career. That kind of puts you through, one of the most historic times in our country, especially in recent years. Probably one of the biggest events, without a doubt, the largest event as far as anything, I think, law enforcement related that's happened in this country. there's a couple big deals like the LAPD bank robbery that happened many years ago. That was a famous event. There was the officers down in Dallas that were executed, shot and killed a few years ago. A huge deal that anybody in law enforcement or pays attention knows about. And obviously there's 9/11. And you were on the job there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, I was in the. I was not in fugitive yet. I was still in the parole task force. So I was in that still that parole investigative unit. But at the end of the day, when that call came in, I had just worked 4 to 4 in the morning. So I was home sleeping, and at that time we had department radios. And just very few of the NYPD units would get to take home a department radio. So I had my department radio, and I was sleeping. But my wife, the kids were very small at the time. My wife woke me up and said, "You got to come and see this." So I woke up. I was still in a deep sleep. I looked at the TV. I immediately turned on my department radio, and I actually heard the only female officer that we lost, Maori Smith. She was on the radio. I heard her calling for help, just saying, "Help, help." And I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. So I take my last breath. I actually heard it on my radio. I immediately called my sergeant, and he was like, "Let's get our asses in." And what was unbelievable about that day, when I responded in there, the first building was already down. Um, when I responded in there, the state troopers had every roadway, major highway shut off, and only EMS, fire, and police were the only ones that could get on the highway going towards, because I live in Long Island, as you say, Howard. So all the Long Islanders had to come on into the city, and so I just grabbed I grabbed my vest, I grabbed, my gun belt. I wasn't in a uniform detail, so I was in plain clothes. My wife was crying. My kids were holding on to my leg, and one of the hardest things I had to do, in addition to responding there and being there, is leaving my family. My kids were crying. My wife was crying because we all thought we were still under attack, and essentially at that time we were still. There was, fighter jets flying across the sky in New York City, but I had to go. I couldn't be cowardice in the line of duty. I just had to leave my family, and at that time, that was the hardest thing, looking back on it, that I had to do, amongst a whole host of other things that unfolded that day.
You're brave as fuck.
Listen, I did my job. As Sean would tell you, if God forbid that was to happen, look, you had the Oklahoma City bombing by you guys, right? That that happened on my birthday, April 19th. Um, you know, you don't not respond to something like that. And the brave men and women of the NYPD, and also the FDNY, Port Authority, and all of the agencies that responded, federal, state, local, they all went running into those buildings without even thinking about it. You have guys like Suarez, who was seen, police officer Suarez, coming out of the World Trade Center, holding on to victims and taking them in and out. He never made it out of there alive. And there's pictures of that female officer, Maori Smith, that I heard on the radio, coming out with people, were effectively saving thousands of people by evacuating them before those buildings collapsed. So what I'll say is that, it is a solemn day. The 20-year anniversary is coming up. My cousin, Ralph Licardi, was murdered by terrorists on that day. And I had to answer to his wife every day when I came home. Did you find Ralph? Did you find Ralph? And it was so hard to come back. And I didn't have the heart initially to tell her the enormity of what was happening, because there was that time, Sean, and you probably remember this too, Howard, there was hope that there were voids where people were still trapped and alive. So after 2 or 3 days, I went back home to Ralph's wife, Jennifer, and said, we're not going to be able to find him. He's not coming home. And she beat the shit out of me, and I let her do it. She just pounded my chest and cursed me out, said, "How dare you, blah, blah, blah." One of the hardest things to do is tell your family member that, her 30-year-old husband with 2 kids, 18 months old and like a little newborn, they banged out 2 kids, one after the other, never got to know their father. And we didn't recover anything of Ralph until late April of 2002.
And was Ralph? Sorry to interrupt you. Was Ralph on the job? Was he a cop as well, or he just happened to be working?
Local 3 journey foreman in
Okay.
Local 3 electricians unit. It was his first day at that site. He
Jeez.
had 7 years in his job. He was a journey foreman, so he's like a boss.
Yeah.
But it was his first day assigned, and he was up on the roof. He called his wife, top floor, not on the roof, but on the top floor, and he said he was walking down, the second building, and she never heard from him again. So,
God. Well,
but
that
doing that bucket brigade and the things that you've seen, like Home Depot, shout out to Home Depot. They came with tractor trailer loads of those bright orange buckets, and I was on that bucket brigade, taking debris off in the days that followed. And then the heavy cranes and the operators came after that, and then we were out of there. But as I was doing that, there was a whole nother element to this disaster. Is like we're standing on a pile of smoldering rubble, and the pieces of the buildings around us was falling down. And the FDNY captains and the bosses had like an air horn. I'll never forget this. And they would hit that air horn, and everybody would have to take cover, because that was meaning debris and stuff were falling off the adjacent buildings. So I was just looking at where I was, and I said, I survived day 1 and day 2, but on day 3, I'm still looking around and stuff is falling all over the place. And I'm like, I'm going to die right here. There was voids that if you fell in them, that I don't know how you would get out. So it was just like unbelievable experience all around. I mean, I could go on for an hour here, but yeah, it was a fucked up thing, man.
Yeah, it's a terrible deal. And Ron, have you ever gone out there to the memorial or anything like that?
You know, I never went back.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I'm not trying to bring up a hard thing. It just
I plan on going back. I'm going
what?
back the 20th, so I'm going this year.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I said, some of the guys that I know, that are lifelong New Yorkers. One of them, John Zito. Like I said, he was one of the guys we just had dinner with. He lives in Lower East Side. He was a producer for our Live PD show. He was like head of like NBC World News during when the Afghan war started over there in Afghanistan. He was over there, and being that he is from that city and looked at the Twin Towers from where he lived at, literally, and that's what he said. He's like, man, I've never gone down there, and it's just something as a lifelong New York guy, it's just tough for the people that live there and those in law enforcement. I will say this: I have gone down there for any of our listeners or guys, men and women watching this thing. Man, it is a incredible site to go to. They've basically got the footprint of where the Twin Towers were. It's now this beautiful water feature, and they have the name of every single person that died that day. Their names are etched into around that footprint. And it's
Panel
amazing.
Number 54 is Ralph Licardi.
I'm sorry, where is it?
Panel 54.
Panel 54. Well, I tell you this, I will make a point to go out there kind of anytime somebody who's a friend of mine or, family member who's never been to the city. It's one of the things, I've got my own little New York City tour that I do with people. And that is one of the places I take them to. And, Howard, I actually just got a message on Instagram from an officer who actually works down there. Now that's his job. He's assigned to that area. I've been down there taking pictures with other cops and stuff like that. And he reached out and said, man, listening to this podcast, I love it. If you're ever down here, happily, they actually have a full building there with a full tour that I have had many opportunities to go in there through contacts I've had with NYPD. And just for my own emotional state, I have not done it. I just know it would be too damn hard.
Well, all those placards that they have up. I went down there, and the thing that I was most moved by is on your birthday they put a flower out.
Yeah, a flower. They do. They put a flower out there.
Yeah, that's powerful. If that doesn't move you, you're dead inside. I mean, you just walk around there, and it's you feel the impact.
My brother's a retired lieutenant, and we were both down there searching together. So we would meet up down there, and when he was a cop at the time, so he got promoted to sergeant, and then he went to the precinct where the female officer was assigned to the day of. And every year on the anniversary, he would do like kind of like a memorial kind of service outside the precinct. So my brother's been there many a times, and he was able to go back. I mean, I could have gone back there, but it's just every time that I make a plan to go, I just get this. I brought my family, my cousins, my aunt, my uncle. I brought the whole family there, and they took like sand and debris and put it in bags, because at that point, we had no recovery of their son. So we brought them down there, and I'll never forget this too. This is a great story. There was a pastor or some type of fire department chaplain. That's what it was, from Illinois. I still got the guy's card, and he came over to us. I had like 7 to 10 people in a police department van. I had a marked NYPD van. I brought my family down there, and he came over to us and said, "Do you mind if I pray with you?" And my family is very Italian, as you know, Licardi. That's how it's pronounced over in Italy, Licardi. So the Licardi family was there, and they said yes, and he prayed with us. And this chaplain was unbelievable. Just the things that happened, the magic that happened down there with the ladies. Day one, the next day, the very first day afterwards, the ladies from the area were coming down there and pouring water on our faces because they had access. The National Guard came and finally closed down access to the place. But for the first day, there was all access. Anybody could come in there. It was just like mayhem. But before that happened, these ladies were coming in with bottles of water and just hosing us down because we were covered in white dust. When I came home that night, I got undressed in the backyard because I didn't want to drag that stuff into my house. So,
well, beyond the obviously the mental toll that it took on you, I'm sure it did. How did it affect you physically?
I got skin cancer. They related it to that because you're out there on the pile, and I worked there until April. I worked in the medical examiner's office doing body parts recovery, but I worked outside for quite a bit of time in September. It was beautiful at that time here. So I got skin cancer on my nose and on my shoulder because we were out there taking, we took our shirts off. We were just, just trying to keep cool, it was so hot. And, I got, a couple of things. I developed pneumonia several times, a lot of breathing stuff, but tons of my friends got lymphoma and all different breathing things where they're not even here. Guys aren't here anymore. Lots of my friends I lost in the years that followed September 11th. My sergeant had a lump on the back of his neck. We thought it was like a boil, and we joked with him. He's like, "Hey, Mike, you're gonna get that fucking thing checked out. You might as well name it. It looks like a fucking."
It's like doing a ride along with you at work for the day.
Yeah, but I was in Warrants at that time, so because it was after way after 9/11, and he's like, "Dude, guys, leave me the fuck alone." So he finally goes to the doctor because it didn't go away, and we were like sick of looking at it. And like 2 weeks later, he came back in. He said, "I got lymphoma. I got cancer," and he died 18 months later. There's a documentary on YouTube about it. Sergeant Michael Ryan, great guy, football player, football guy, like big, strapping. And he makes sticks look like a stick. The guy was a fucking beast, and he was strong as hell. And the last night he was alive, I was up in the hospital with him, and he was holding on to a football that his PB football team that he coached won the championship for him. And he was taking water from a sponge in his mouth. He withered away to nothing. And 18 months later, he died. So, from the diagnosis to then, right to that. So those are some of the stories. Let's get back into something positive here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I'll need a drink after that.
Start slamming these drinks. And not that I don't want a response from this, and I do want to move on, but it's so crazy. It's baffling to me, I guess, how that incident, what happened there. Cops across the country. I don't want to say heroes, but people had much love for them, much admiration. To see what's going on right now just absolutely breaks my heart. But don't need a comment. We're going to move on.
Yep.
It's just a kind of a 180.
So you went into fugitive warrants, correct? So
Yep.
you worked with Tommy Lee Jones, right? Mm-hmm. He's pretty good at that. I saw him.
Had Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas
Cage
he caught
was Malkovich.
No, it wasn't Malkovich. That's Con Air. You're thinking.
Oh
of
yeah,
else.
Con Air.
No, he caught Wesley Snipes, right? Isn't it did you catch Wesley Snipes with him?
Snipes? Yeah, I think he was.
He was. He was the fugitive.
This guy's good. I don't know where you found this guy, Sticks, but I bet he's
I
awesome.
have a strange, sticky mind.
That he does.
Hey, I want to say one thing too. I don't want to try to take your show over, but I really, really appreciate the live PD, what you did to bring out and show, like, prior to that, there was the cops, right? Film
Sure.
Vacation with the men and women along, right? So when I looked at that show, I said, what a positive thing to show how the men and women of law enforcement interact with the public real time,
Yep.
and then come back. And when you guys would do the whole narration of it, it was just such a well put together show. It's such a shame that that was part of the cancel culture. Any shot at that coming back for you or no?
Man, I think there is a strong possibility. We'll leave it at that. My fingers are crossed. Maybe something will pan out.
He was talking about how that was a well-produced show. He didn't say anything about how well-produced this show
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Nothing. I mean,
No,
we're trying here, man. Wow.
No, I know there's obviously an interest. It's been over a year now that it's been off the air, and not a day goes by that somebody, whether it's someone we run into somewhere through social media, again, not to revert back to us just being out in New York a week ago. We were out at dinner there, and there were people even in the restaurant that allowed us to eat and then came over, to talk with Dan and myself. So it's nice to still see literally everybody would like to see the show back. I mean, hell, even the fucking bad guys that, I dealt with on the streets, they missed the show. They were ready for it to come back. So, I know there are conversations going on, and I do have my fingers crossed that something will get back on air.
Now, were you retired when you were doing that show? And I know you hate when people ask you the question about will it come back. I just had to do that. I had to throw that out there because I wanted my people, when they look at this, I wanted them there to say, why the fuck didn't you ask them that question?
Yeah, of course. No, man, I actually, I'll say this. It's funny. There are a lot of people, cop haters, people that are jealous, whatever, because unfortunately cops eat cops up, so to speak. We're cannibals at times if someone else is doing well. But, there were people who would talk shit about it. And I was literally working in Tulsa Monday through Thursday. I was a single dad with 2 kids, had taken care of that. I'd work in Tulsa Monday through Thursday, get off work at 4, catch a 5:30 flight to New York, do live PD Friday, Saturday, fly home Sunday, grocery shop, do laundry, and then start back to work Monday morning. And I did that schedule for, 2.5 years straight. And I mean, Howard was, one of my A1 buddies with me through that whole thing. And so I did not have much of a social life at all. It was a 7-day-a-week thing, but man, an amazing opportunity, experience, etc. So,
hey, and I can speak to that, man. I mean, you were tired. This guy was working 7 days a week. I mean, being a good cop, doing his thing, raising his kids. I mean, he's pretty, but he's also a good person.
Well, thank you.
I'm 57 years old, and he exhausts me just looking at that schedule. The nonprofit that you did, the Sticks Cares for the Kids, supporting the inner city kids, that was the acronym, right? That acronym or whatever.
Yep.
I thought that was a great. I listened to a little promo about that a couple of maybe last week or so, and I thought, what a great thing, how to give back. Like you talked about, the community policing and giving back. That's a great nonprofit, and that's a great thing that you did there. So cool.
Okay, Ron, you don't get to hijack the interview anymore. This is our damn show, so I'm gonna ask you
I'll
some more
I'll
questions.
come on yours, buddy. I'll come on yours.
I want to hear. Literally, no. What we're gonna talk about? I want to hear about you catching bad guys in other states. I want to hear how did you set them up? Because catching bad guys, the good ones that actually flee, think they got away, right?
The thing of it is it was, the trip team was a unit that you didn't actually go out and have to hunt these guys down. It would be idiots that would trip themselves up and get locked up in another jurisdiction. Cops will run them for an outer state warrant, and our felony warrants would pop up, and they'd be, all right, you're going to get locked up for whatever we're locking you up for. When you're done with your time, New York's going to come and get you. So, we would go tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. But on the felonies, we would go, out of state. We would go and grab a guy in Florida, grab a guy. So it was quite interesting, but it wasn't what you were thinking it was there. That fugitive kind of hunt down the guys, we didn't do that. It was more of a controlled thing. I got my first picture at Niagara Falls. I never went up there. I live in New York. We were going to Niagara jail to pick a guy up. And it was me and 3 of my partners at the falls, and that's my family photo at the falls with the boy.
Very nice. Did you ever make a trip out to Oklahoma?
I did not. No.
They know better than trying to flee out here.
Yeah, they'll get.
They know better.
We carry lots of guns out here. Hey, the thing that I want to know is that when you would go and grab somebody from other jurisdiction, I'm sure that you probably had somebody that ended up in California, right?
Yeah, we did. The thing of it is that I have family in California, so I'm familiar with the area over there. in a spot where I went to in California. Bless you. And you know, I was in my own, like, when I saw that one come up, I said, I got to go out there.
Go visit family, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, but when you get him back, you've got to fly him back, right?
Right. So we would enter the plane first, and we'd
Oh.
get to the back row. We'd have the travel belts, the shackles, the travel belt, and we would go on first, and then we would leave last.
And you would also put a jacket over there.
Well, I say this is commercial airlines, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you, I've seen that several times flying. You know, have you had any, like? I mean, people flying nowadays are wow. I mean, it's rough sometimes. So, I mean, do you have anybody ever go, "Hey, what's going on here?" Like that Karen that wanted to enter a seat.
When I was doing it, the Karens were kind of calm. It was calm Karens. So we would kind of, it's a different day and age, boys. We know
it is.
People were polite.
You could be a fucking cop in the 90s and in 2000s. And there's something to shit the bed really quickly. And, we all know what that is. And at the end of the day, there wasn't much of that, but it did happen. There was occasions when someone would go back to use the restroom, and my guy, instead of having him, how we would cover him up when he would get in, we would let him relax. So, it'd be kind of, you'd see the guy would be shackled up and the travel belt, and people would like do the double take. And we would just be like, we had like a whole like TAC meeting with the flight stewardess and the captain. We'd have to meet the captain. It was a whole thing, because we had to take our firearms on the plane and everything. And, but nothing major. I think nowadays that would be challenging. That's for sure.
Yeah, the public thinks they can get into everybody's business, don't they?
Unfortunately, it's not a good time to be a cop. Like I would feel bad for someone going, but it is going to get better, and I don't want to discourage people, because it's still a great job. You're going to go on there and you're going to essentially helping people, and you make, nowadays you make a good pension. My pension is decent. I'm happy with what I left with. I'm still working, doing my thing. But it is what it is. It's got to be something that you really want to do. Just like you. I mean, it's a noble thing that you do, Howard. Being in the nursing field and whatever it is that you do, it's probably rewarding for you.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I am a bedside nurse. I like touching people.
He's good at it.
Yeah,
he's also great at our little our videos we do each week. So he's a good sport about those.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is you have to like people if you get into public service. You don't get into it for any other reasons. Granted, every day we have those people that were like, damn, they needed to be hugged more when they were a baby, But I mean, you kind of get through it.
Well, what are you doing in retirement now?
Well, I have this little I'm director of security at an Amazon kind of affiliate, so I'm
nice.
busy with that.
Did you help make that rocket?
Yeah, did you go up also? Did you go up?
I had the opportunity. I turned it down.
Yeah,
that rocket is ridiculous. The look of that thing.
I mean, yeah. Well,
what did it look like, Howard?
It looked like something we had on another episode.
It's a phallic symbol.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Like that hot dog suit I saw you in a couple.
I was an eggplant, sir.
Whatever.
While eating hot dogs.
Yes. New Yorkers like that, by the way. We got a lot of. had people like yelling eggplant. It was good.
He and I'm not joking. We did our little video, one and done.
Yeah.
But we walked for several blocks around with him in that thing, and we had everybody stopping to take pictures, yelling out the window from their cars. We went into Whole Foods as he walked through Whole Foods.
We did go to Whole Foods.
He bought an eggplant while wearing it. We had a guy who was smoking weed just came up and wanted to take pictures, so we had a good time with it. He walked all the way back to the hotel.
New Yorkers were very friendly.
Unbelievable. That's great. You guys had a good time. It looked like you were having a good time.
We did. So you got security, director of security there for an Amazon facility.
Yeah, 2 years. So I'm out almost a decade. Well, just a decade. So, I did a little bit of work down by the World Trade Center, and this is the funny part. I worked at One Liberty Plaza, which is right opposite of the World Trade. And while the buildings were being built up, I was there working. So I had opportunities to go over there. I never even walked across the street and went over there. But, the Zuccotti Park, where the Occupy Wall Street movement was in 2012, I was there for that. So, I stayed busy. I retired at 46. Now I'm 57, so I'm still going.
Good for you.
You're a
Good for
young
you.
man.
Yeah, just a little bit of fact knowledge, I guess, to drop on there is the new. What's the new building? Is it called One Trade? The new one, the big, super tall one there.
Yeah, One World Trade Center.
One World Trade Center. Do you know how tall that is?
Yeah.
It's actually 1,776 feet tall, which is actually kind of cool, for the old country. I thought that was kind of neat little stamp, I guess, that they put on that when they built that thing. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
So you also do. You're pretty popular on YouTube. The only people that are more popular than you are the people playing Call of Duty. Cheers, Call of Duty.
Cheers, Call of Duty. I actually played this afternoon, legit.
So, the YouTube thing is a funny thing. I didn't have any aspirations to do it. One of my friends, Joey Brooklyn, said to me,
he's
Ron,
definitely from New York, right?
Oh, yeah. He's like, Ron, you got to come over here and check this YouTube. There's live streaming out. Now, I was doing I told you guys about the Periscope. I was playing the PD, having a blast. You could say whatever you want. I could curse. I didn't need this. I didn't have to say, you. I could just let it go. So he says to me, hey, Ron, you come on over to YouTube. It's great. It's a great community. It's great people. I was like, nobody's going to know me. I got no subscribers. I got nothing. He's like, come on. So I started doing like security, safety, like online safety, what to do if you go out on like online dating apps. There was people getting killed going out on. There was a nurse over here that was killed. The whole big thing.
Howard was killing it on online dating apps there for a while. So
Tinder?
He was on a few. Anyways, he was on a few.
They're not a sponsor of this.
Yeah. There you
video.
go. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. He was doing well. Anyways, go on.
Busy guy. So Joey Brooklyn talks me into in 20.
Joey Brooklyn.
Joey Brooklyn says, Ron, you got to come on here.
Was he a mobster or like a WWE wrestler or what? I mean, what is this guy?
I'm Joey Brooklyn.
We beg donuts. But anyway, my friend Joe. So he said, yeah, Ron, you got to come on. You got to come over. So I did it. I was talking to myself for a long time and nobody was listening. And finally, I started talking about true crime. So that was the breakout thing. You're talking about criminal cases, police perspective, investigator, detective. I bring on guests, homicide detective sergeants and all kinds of people coming on. And one thing led to another. And, before you know it, I got 40, 44, 44, 43, whatever, 43, 44,000. And
whatever, no big deal.
No big deal. So it takes off, when you speak about these higher profile stuff. I always spoke about Epstein, all this craziness. It draws in a lot of people. So that's how it happened. And it just kind of, I didn't want to do it. He's like, you're the DutyRon. And I'll tell you a quick story about the DutyRon. It came from the police department. When I was active on patrol and we worked midnights, I worked the late tour. We got into a radio car after like 2 years of walking a foot post and housing. So I get the housing car and the duty captain always gets notified if there's a shooting, if there's, a backlog of calls and you can't answer them. So the duty captain, well, me and my partner were so active, we would take like 5-6 calls, stack them up. And they were like, hey, we don't need the duty captain. We got the DutyRon here.
DutyRon.
So that's how the name of my channel came as DutyRon from 30 years or whatever, 28 years ago. I got that nickname on the police department. So I named my channel DutyRon, but now I've changed it to Crime Time with DutyRon. So that's the channel on YouTube.
All right, plug that one more time here before we get out of here. What's the name of it? They can find you on YouTube.
DutyRon, DutyRon, Crime Time with DutyRon.
Well, duty and nursing something completely different.
It's a lot of diaper changes. Yes,
I know. Yeah, we do that. Hey, it was fantastic to have you, man.
It flew by.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. Much love, and you're a hero, man.
Thank you, guys. I look forward to your success going forward, and coming back hopefully you'll let me come back when you guys get real popular, because then you'll probably say, who's this guy? Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, whatever.
Hell
man.
yeah, bring
Absolutely.
Tommy Lee Jones with you. Yeah, we would love that.
No, you got to bring Joey Brooklyn.
Yeah, we want Joey Brooklyn.
Hey, Sean, I'll introduce you to Joey Brooklyn. You come on to my channel.
Boom. Hey, I'm there. You set it up. We're going to get you over that 50,000 followers, buddy.
All right, man. DutyRon, thanks for showing up today. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
Hey,
guys.
man, be careful. Thanks again.